Hi, every day I forget what happened yesterday. To answer your questions, my life is like the movie 50 First Dates. Only it's not as fun. In 2014, I suffered a head injury that left me with severe sensitivity to noise, headaches, traumatic epileptic seizures, and anterograde amnesia. Every morning I wake up thinking it's October 2014. Ready to share my life story and answer your questions.
What are you most afraid of in your situation? What don't you like finding out about every day, other than getting hurt?
I'm afraid that tomorrow I'll wake up and it will be 10 years later and my son has changed to the point where I don't recognize him anymore. I get frustrated because I've missed out on so much, especially the memories associated with my son. Yes, I can read about everything in my diary, I can look at pictures on Facebook, but without the memories it all doesn't seem real to me.
Do you write down everything that happens to you somewhere?
I keep a diary that I read every morning when I wake up. Thanks to it, I know everything that happened to me after the injury. It's an ordinary diary, nothing special.
If you do the same thing every day, do you still have memories of your actions?
As for whether or not I still have memories, seems that they don't. If I sleep more than 4 hours, my memory kind of reboots. I don't know how else to explain it.
How do you spend your mornings?
Here's what I did today. I woke up at 5 a.m. on my alarm clock. Stunned that I wasn't at my house, but at my mom's. Had on my glasses, which were on the notebooks that said read me. I began to read them, found out why I was at my mother's. I had been living with her for 3 years. Next I read about all the events for 5 years. Found the password to my new phone, looked at photos and videos on Facebook. Then I had to get my son ready for school. He's 8 years old now. 2 weeks before the injury, he turned 4. Made him breakfast. Took him to school. Luckily where his school was, I remembered from those years. Walked him to the front desk, because I can't walk to class. I have certain health issues unrelated to the head injury that are getting worse every year. I said goodbye to my son until Sunday, because his dad was supposed to pick him up after school for the weekend. I came home, took an hour nap, because I had no energy. Then I took some pills and put in some fentanyl drops. I continued to read diaries, looked at Facebook and apps on my phone. Everything seems new to me. Before that I had an old Nokia, which could do nothing but make calls and write SMS. Now I have a smartphone, and I don't really like it. And now I'm sitting on it and chatting with you.
What will you do when your journals are so thick that you don't have time to read them?
It took me 4 hours today to read them all. Honestly, I just hope my brain fixes itself before that happens.
Are you in a relationship? If so, how has the trauma affected them?
Yes. I met my boyfriend in October 2016. I'm scared to wake up next to him because I don't know who he is or why I'm in a strange place when I sleep at his place. But he has pictures of us together hanging in his room, so I quickly realize that he's no stranger to me, and that there's some connection between us. But what confuses me even more is that I'm supposed to be waking up at my ex's house in our old house. So waking up next to a man I don't know is not easy. We seem to have a good relationship. We've been together for 2.5 years now. He is very patient with me, he has no trouble explaining the same things to me repeatedly, and he makes sure I don't forget to write down the most important things in my diary.
Don't you get the feeling that you can never really love him because you've only known him for a day?
I don't even know. We say we love each other, but it's very complicated because I don't really know him. I felt really good today, though, when we corresponded. I have to trust my diaries. He seems like a great partner, and I guess I found something in him after all, since we're still together. But to be honest, I've never had very strong feelings for anyone, so this isn't a new problem for me.
Have you tried sleeping in short intervals to save more memories?
After the accident, it was enough for me to sleep for half an hour to forget everything. Things are a little better now. Sometimes I can sleep for 4 hours without loss. But 4 hours of sleep is not for me. I always considered myself half lazy because I need a lot of sleep, so I sleep much longer.
What about polyphasic sleep? Sleep for 4 hours, stay awake for 2 hours, then sleep for another 4. Or you could also try a method that was popular 10 years ago, when the gaps were even smaller.
The problem is that such a cycle is simply not possible in my case, since I have many responsibilities. I have to take my kid to school, look after him, clean the house, and so on. If I sleep all the time during the day, I won't get anything done. Otherwise, I give it a try. I hope that soon the time I can sleep without memory wiping will increase. And I will be able to sleep at least 6 hours at night and then another 1 to 2 hours during the day.
This may be a silly question. Do you have any fresh memories that have overcome your amnesia and stayed in your head? If so, how do you take them in, given that you have huge gaps in your memory?
I seem to have had occasions when I remembered something from the previous day or week. But over time, those memories wiped away.
Have you tried staying awake for, say, 36 or 48 hours to see what happens to your memory? I've read about different alternate sleep cycles. Would you like to experiment with something like that?
20 hours is the longest I've been able to go without memory loss. That was 3 years ago. Maybe I could last a little longer now.
So you lose your memory even when you're awake. Have you ever had that?
Apparently so. Once, when I decided to stay up late, I couldn't remember what I'd done in the morning.
Have you changed in any way since 2014? How does it feel to look at yourself in the mirror? Aren't you avoiding your reflection?
I don't like being photographed and I try not to look at myself in the mirror. The only thing that has changed in my appearance is that I have 3 new tattoos, 2 ear piercings, and the lip piercing is gone.
Was there a time when you happened to fall asleep somewhere and you didn't have your materials handy, which usually helps you understand the situation?
No idea. Given that my notes don't say anything about it, it means that either it never happened, or the experience was so traumatic that I decided not to write about it.
I'm sorry this happened to you. You seem to be a very strong and resourceful person. By the way, I was reminded of the movie Memento. In that movie, the main character also loses his memory, and he fights it with excessive organization. I wanted to know how you were getting organized. Do you make edits to your journal? Do you have some kind of summary, 1 or 2 pages, of all the important events of the last 5 years, and info about your current situation, like my current boyfriend?
Yes, I have several pages dedicated to certain topics. For example, there is a section devoted to my boyfriend. It contains his full name, address, phone number, date of birth, preferences, history of our acquaintance, information about his parents and his work, and so on. There's a section about my son. It records his teachers, his class, his friends, his hobbies. There are sections of my mom. She had surgery on her leg a couple of weeks ago, and I have a record of how she felt each day, what exercises she has to do, and when she needs to go to the doctors. Update each of these sections and am constantly adding new information and crossing out old information.
Do you have some kind of task list to remind yourself from the future what needs to be done?
I have a calendar hanging in my kitchen where I write down what I need to do and mark all kinds of information. Like when was the last time I changed the cat litter box, when my son is staying with his dad, and stuff like that.
What style do you keep your diary in? It's all factual, like I had another trip to the doctor today. or you talk to yourself from the future with empathy. Don't be afraid. You've been doing this for years. Just read this and you'll be ready for anything.
Both. 90% are just facts. But there are individual posts where I share my experiences. There I write that I'm afraid for my life, afraid that it will never go away, discussing how everyone would be better off without me, feeling sorry for myself. But there aren't many of those entries. Seems that a couple of years ago I decided that I would write less bad stuff so I wouldn't upset myself when I reread it.
Did you break up with your ex before or after the injury?
After. It was a mutual decision. But we are still friends.
Does anyone else read your diaries?
Maybe, I don't know. But I don't really care. There's nothing secret about them.
Have you ever had one where you woke up and couldn't accept what had happened?
It looks like it was. But not a word about it in my notes for the last 2 years. So, know if it's because I stopped writing it down, or because my brain started subconsciously believing it was all true.
How did you get your head injury? Did you find any hidden positives in all of this?
Well, if I, for example, have a bad day, then I can write nothing about it, and the next day I won't remember anything. But this way, this is nothing but trouble. Nobody knows exactly how it happened, because I was alone. But the most likely version is that I was standing outside the hospital. I had a dislocated kneecap. I was waiting for my ex-fiancé to pick me up. I lit up, passed out, and hit a metal pole.
What do the doctors say? Are you receiving any treatment?
I have support, but not medical support. In the first 6 months after my injury, I was sent to neurology twice, and that was the end of my treatment. The doctors said they couldn't help me. That's the way it is. We had to cope with all my hardships ourselves. My ex-boyfriend suggested the idea of a diary. When I went to doctors, they would just tell me to go away and not to waste their time, because they should deal with those who they can help.
Thanks so much for watching. Write in the comments what you think of this story, and if you have similar problems. Like it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.